I think motivational speakers help more people than the ones who complain about motivational speakers. It doesn't even matter. Like, honestly, people complain about Napoleon Hill not being successful until he started talking about all these successful people. Like, I don't understand what the big deal is. Napoleon Hill did a lot of research on all the successful people in his day in the early 1900s. And then he compiled all that information. He curated it. He did a lot of work to present that to people to help change the lives of millions of people. And then you have some people trying to downplay his work. It is, to me, it's a cheap shot. Why would you do that? You would only do that to try to make yourself look better. Because you'll say, oh, well, I did this and I did that. But Napoleon Hill became successful talking and sharing the insights, the key ideas, and the things that the successful people did that he studied. What's wrong with that? You have people in this day and age that don't do a damn thing for humanity. They don't help. They don't give any advice. They don't try to share any value. Most of the time, all they do is complain. If they're not complaining, they're trying to, spread gossip or spread hatred on the interwebs. They have nothing valuable to offer. And you can tell they're not working on themselves. They're not trying to become a better person. And to me, that is the real problem. Especially somebody that's going to point the finger and say, oh, look at this person. This person isn't doing anything. They're not successful. And look at them trying to, give a motivational advice and quotes and all this stuff. So what? You're trying to knock somebody that's sharing a valuable quote that may change somebody's life because they heard it at that right time in the certain place that they're in their life right now. It may have changed their life for the better. And you want to say something negative and bad about that? That's the problem. I mean, if you're the type of person who wants to help people and give advice, don't listen to any of these ignorant idiots that try to make it seem like what you're doing isn't genuine. Everybody has something valuable to share that came from their unique life and the experiences that they went through in life. There's a lot of value in everybody's life, but most people are afraid to even share any of it. So if you're the type of person that will get up there and share some insights that you've gone through, that you've gained, then you're pretty much extraordinary, because the ordinary person will just keep their mouth shut and criticize everybody else. It's much easier to just sit back and criticize everybody else on the other side of the camera. There's hundreds of millions of people right now, if not billions, that are struggling. They're struggling in many different ways. Not just financially, not just with relationships, or not even with their health, but it could be a combination of all of those. And they're going through tough times right now. People are going through some severe tough times all over the world. And you don't know, the type of things that might help somebody. When you get to a point in life where you want to join the solution instead of being part of the problem all the time, you make the conscious decision to be part of the solution instead, then you start to notice real quick that the momentum that it's creating is giving you more energy to achieve more and do more. A lot of people sit on their ass all day, me included, scrolling through social media. But some people, the content that they're watching is literally destroying their minds. Google did a study, and the study said that people have a shorter attention span than goldfish. Now, you got to keep in mind, a goldfish doesn't scroll through entertainment. Goldfish will just look for little flakes of food that you feed it. But can you imagine the brain of a goldfish compared to a human being's? And the reason why we become so distracted is because our brains can handle so much. We don't realize the power of the human mind. Human beings can do some amazing things with their minds. Some of the things I believe have been forgotten for thousands of years if not even hundreds of thousands of years, or maybe even more. The way human beings used to do, like I was just watching this video earlier today about a woman talking about remote viewing. She said she was remote viewing in Antarctica, and there was a military base. Some other remote viewer actually pushed her out of there. That had never happened to her before. But she cloaked herself. She kind of said, okay, well, she put her a disguise of some sort on herself, so the other guy that pushed her away couldn't see her when she went back. So she goes back and she goes around him. She's like sneaks around. And then she sees that they're in this room, these two like military officers, and they're sleeping. They're like down sleeping, and they're remote viewing. And it turns out that it's true. The CIA has remote viewers. So the fact that every single human being can't do things like this or astral project, it means that in today's day and age, it's been evolved out of us or conditioned out of us in some way. I really think that human beings were capable of things that we can't even fathom today. Like when we talk about mind reading and being able to communicate telepathically, we think about body language, like we're reading somebody's body language or something like that. But I think ancient humans actually were able to communicate in depth telepathically with somebody that is not even in the vicinity of where they are. That's why sometimes you'll have some people get premonitions, or they'll have like a hunch or a bad feeling about something, and they'll go check and they'll be like, wow, I'm glad I turned around and went back to the house because something caught on fire and I put it out. You hear stories about that all the time, where they have this feeling that they can't explain. And it turns out they were right. That's why your gut instinct is so important. And if you destroy your gut with poor food, you lose your gut instinct. Just think about it. When you consume food that makes you feel sluggish and lethargic, what do you think it's doing to your brain? It's lowering your capacity to do these things that human beings were designed to do. It's really interesting. I think you should read books like The Holographic Universe. And in there, it talks about human beings doing some of the most crazy, unbelievable things. Like a lot of it you probably wouldn't even believe. But a lot of this stuff is very interesting. Keep feeding yourself and keep allowing yourself to be interested and be curious in things that are outside the realm of what typical people even believe is true or not. One of the main problems is that we've been conditioned to not believe in ourselves to our full capacity. And it's because of the misdirectional system that we go to called school, public school systems. It's more of an indoctrination system than it is a actual education system. And so we are taught, like I like what Kanye West said actually when he said, we're taught, history class over and over again, which is his story anyway. But how come we're not taught a future class? Like, why isn't there a future class? The future is inevitable. We're going to go into the future. And the people who predict the future are the ones who create it. So who is the future really belonging to? The ones being indoctrinated or the ones doing the indoctrination? These are serious questions that need to be asked. I think that people don't know how to ask questions, serious questions, and look for the answers in life a lot of times. And people are afraid to be wrong because you were taught if you get something wrong or you fail at something, you're going to get a bad grade. You're going to fail. We're going to give you a negative mark. But failing is the number one key ingredient to succeeding, because how else are you going to find the way? Thomas Edison failed how many times? Thousands. And when Thomas Edison was a kid, the teacher told Thomas Edison's mother, he's really stupid. He's not going to do well in this class. We can't let him be here. And then his mother told him that he was too smart for the class. And you can't be in the class because you're too smart for the class. So she totally reframed it to not poison the child's mind, because imagine if the mother told Thomas Edison, yeah, they said you were too stupid and you can't go to class. You can't go to the school because you're too stupid. Probably would have shaped his future. You know, a lot of times we do this to children without even thinking about it. Every little thing you do and say to a younger mind is going to put an impression on their unconscious. They're going to carry that throughout their life. So think about it like this. I mean, people do need to think bigger, but at the same time, you need to get granular with your thinking, with your goals. And so a lot of times people might have a big goal and then just give up because they get frustrated and they're not getting closer. And oftentimes you don't even see how close you get until you look back and say, wow, it's all those little things that I did that did contribute to where I am. But not just that. I mean, let's take content creation for an example. The whole reason content creators are doing this thing is because they want to make it their profession. They want to do content and do their art or what have you for a job, basically creating their own job. When it seems like it's just too hard and it's not coming along, that's when most people just give up. The mindset should be towards getting better every time. So your goal should be just to get better. And that's how you remain consistent, because you're doing it to get better, to improve. You're not doing it just only for the end goal. So it's the same thing when you break down any other goal. You're trying to get better or become the person to achieve the goal. That's why I do what I do. I don't do it just for the finish line. I mean, a lot of times when you reach the finish line anyway, it's short-lived. The satisfaction doesn't last. It fades away, and then you look for the next thing. That's what getting to the next level is all about. The next mountain to climb. Every day should be like practice for the big game. Every action you take and every choice you make is nothing but practice for the big game. And you don't know when the big game's going to happen, but it'll be called to you. There's going to come an opportunity where that's going to be the big game, and that's where you put everything on the line. And everything you did up until that point is what it took to achieve and to get to the end prize at that big game. The final boss in the video game. You gotta, in the video game, the video games that I used to play when I was a young kid was just, there were levels. Like there was this video game called Bad Dudes, and there were all these levels, right? And you would fight your way to the boss on each level. And there would be different fighters that you would have to defeat. And the boss was the hard one. And then boom, you beat the boss on level 1. And then you go to level 2. And then you're fighting everybody on level 2. And then at the end of level 2, there's another boss that's even harder than everybody else. And it just progressively gets more and more difficult as you move throughout the game. And eventually you get to the end level and you might lose, but then you try again. So that try again mentality, there it is once again. But when you play a game like that, how many times do you practice playing? You go to the arcade. Every time you play, it's a practice. Every ounce of discipline, every ounce of agency that you use and fortitude that you cultivate over the years of your life, those are like the power pellets that you collect when you're moving throughout the video game, crashing windows and, defeating the ninjas and you're grabbing the power pellets and ninja stars. That's your discipline. That's your fortitude. That's your agency. All the skills that you pick up along the way. You collect all the skills and you create your own character. And that's the beautiful thing about this own video game, because you create your own specific character that's unique to you. And you play that character so that you can win the game of your own. You choose which game you're playing. There's many different slots that you can put your quarter into at this arcade called life. So make the best of it.